This lesson is about perspective for usually first graders. So I call this level 2 because in kindergarten they get an introduction to perspective. So this is level 2. If you are looking for level 1, you'll be able to search that video in the playlist called Perspective Lessons, and it will be labeled as level 1. So let's discuss. So perspective is how artists make space. And artists make space by changing sizes. We use things like big, medium, and small, near and far to show distance. So let's just talk about that for a minute. That this toy is small. It's smaller than my hands. But if I bring the toy very, very close to my eye, it will be really big and very detailed. I can see all the little lines and the shiny spot on the dog's eye. And in general, you can see it much better, all the little details. My hand is further away. We can't see all the little lines on my skin. And the dog is looking bigger than my hand when I bring it up close. So let's compare two things that are actually the same size. Like my hands are about the same size. If I bring one of my hands super close, it's going to appear bigger than this hand in the distance, and we can switch spots. Bring one eye really close to your face and this other hand far away, but we know that they're the same size. We can do the same thing with 2 coins. We can take 2 pennies, and we know that they're the same size, but if we were to bring one really close, it's going to look super big, and this one is super far away. Some things in life are actually big, like a panda bear is actually big. If the panda were to climb up a tree, it's going to look small up in the tree, and if it comes down, we're going to realize that the panda is really big. An ant is really small. If we brought that ant super close to you on my hand, it would look big, but if we put the panda and the ant next to each other, we know that the panda is actually big and the ant is actually small. So the word actually kind of helps when we're looking at things in real life. We can imagine things being really big, like we can imagine a giant ant from outer space that's taller than buildings. So it depends on if the work is using imagination or not. All right, so this is a cityscape. Can you say cityscape? Cityscape. A cityscape, what do you think a cityscape is a picture of? Yes, a city. So an oceanscape is a picture of an ocean, a cityscape is a picture of a city, a landscape is a picture of anything on land. So we're going to make 2 marks on our paper. It does not need to be perfect. It's just to kind of get us from one place to the other. An adult can give you the little dot about 2 fingers up, or you can put it on there, and they're going to be opposite corners. So we're going to go to the opposite corner, put 2 fingers, or even 1 finger would work. Doesn't really matter. And then we're just going to make like a little hill, like a little swoopy line. And we're going to be using very simple supplies, just a black crayon. You can color the whole thing with crayon, but I'm going to demonstrate this with watercolors. You don't have to have watercolors to do this project. So where I am using a wax crayon, it's going to be a wax resist. So the paint cannot stick to the wax. It says, "Get off of me," and the watercolor goes off the black crayon because it's waxy. The 2 can't mix, and the paint is absorbed like a sponge absorbs water. The paper is going to absorb the paint. It's going to go into the paper. So we're studying perspective today. Perspective is a big fancy art word. Perspective. Can you say that with me? Perspective. Very good. Tiv. It's how artists show distance or how they create space using near and far. So we're going to sing a little song. Ready? You're going to sing it with me. Artists make space. And you take your little hands and you're going to do this with me. Artists make space. You say, Artists make space by changing sizes. And you say, by changing sizes. Big, medium, small. Big, medium, small. Near and far. And far. Perspective. We're all going to clap. Ready? Perspective. Good job. All right. So we are making a cityscape. And you can write that on the back of your paper if you like. I'm just going to show you how it looks. Cityscape. So we'll just put our little vocabulary words. We'll sneak them on the back of our paper. Cityscape. It's a picture of the, you guessed it, city. So we're just going to put ourselves a little reminder of what that looks like, a cityscape. And this cityscape is going to show things that are big and small, near and far, and medium. So we're going to go up the hill. So walk your little fingers up the hill. Very good. And up the hill, we're going to put a teeny, tiny building. It's so far away, we can barely see it. We'd yell, hello, hello, hello. And they couldn't even hear us. They're so far away. And then down the hill. So walk your little fingers down the hill. Now down the hill, we're going to have our biggest, most beautiful, most detailed building. So I'm going to push down pretty hard on my crayon. It's okay if your crayon breaks. If you're having trouble holding the crayon like this, if you're ending up like this and you can't really see what you're doing around your fist, you'd be better off just having a piece of a crayon, because then we're going to hold it with our dinosaur fingers, our pincer grasp. And we're going to make our first building. And you can go to town with as many details as you could think of. We're going to have a balcony. And your picture does not have to look like my picture. So a balcony door here. We're going to have some fancy windows. And decorate it all pretty. So when things are really close to us, we can see more details. If I brought my hand close to you, you can see all the lines in my fingers. You can see my fingerprints. But if my hand's far away, we can't really see those details. So this house has a wreath on the front door, and the door is red and has a mailbox. We can't see those things because it's so far away, up, 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 up the hill and in the distance. But this one, we can see all the details. It's super close to you. All right. And then we're going to go back up the hill. We're going to make another shape, another building. It's also far away, but it can have a little bit more detail. You can see the roof and the door. We're going to go back down the hill. Make another building. This one's going to be a cookie factory. They're baking fresh cookies. We have an indoor where the workers go in, and an outdoor. Little factory, some windows. And you know, I'm going to give it a pipe so smoke can come out the top and disappear out the top of the paper. A little heart-shaped window because we love cookies. All right, we're going to go back up the hill where things are starting to get a little closer. They're getting a little bit more detail. We can see the garage, or a little piece of the garage. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's far away. It's okay if it's wonky. Crooked little city, crooked little buildings. It's okay. And we're going to give this one like a dome roof. Maybe we'll change it to like a, oh, that looks good. We're going to add lots of lines. We want our lines to connect, so that actually looks like something. So instead of fragmented, we want the lines to connect to each other to actually make shapes. So if your lines are lazy and disconnected, it's not really going to look like something until you connect it all the way together if you're going to try to make a shape. And we have room for a little bit more of these like smaller buildings. But maybe a little house here. I live in an apartment, so that's like maybe my house. Maybe you live in an apartment or you live in a house. We have all of our details. So we have all the parts to make the cityscape, especially where we're studying perspective today. Perspective. Put all these nice vocabulary words on the back of our paper so we can teach our adults at home all about what we learned. We learned about near and far and how artists use that to show space. And we use big, medium, and small. You don't have to write this on your paper, but if you want to, you can pause the video and write your words on the back of your paper. When you like your city, we're going to use our artist signature at the bottom. Artists sign their work, they claim it, they take responsibility and ownership of their work. And my picture is going to be a nighttime picture. So I'm going to sneak the moon right in there. We draw the inside of the moon and then the outside of the moon. Otherwise, it looks like a banana. Okay. And we're going to make a little sidewalk street. We'll make it a street. Changed my mind. And so the lines down here are going to be bigger because they're close to us. And then as they go up, they turn into little short dashes, and then they disappear as little dots. Same thing if we were going to do footprints. We would do right, left, right, left, right. And then they're going to get smaller until they disappear up the hill. And I'm going to do a winter picture. I usually teach this to my first graders in the winter. Put a little snowman here. We'll give him a floppity hat. Little details. The details. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Now, you could color this with crayon. You can color this with a water-based washable marker. But I'm going to demonstrate with paint. So we have our watercolors and we have our water. So watercolor paints are sleepy and sleeping in their own little rooms. So this is a house called a palette. Can you say palette? Palette. Very good. And each paint has its own bedroom in the house. And we have our paintbrush. We're going to use that same grasp. So I was holding my crayons using my dino fingers. Dinosaurs only had 2 or 3 fingers. So we're going to use that same pincer grasp. These 2 fingers become like a little pillow that my hand rests on. And these fingers are doing the action on the top. Okay? We're going to do that same part where there's usually a metal part of the pencil. It's like silver or gold sometimes. You're going to just pinch right there, and the tail is going to rest on this little like couch right here, this little round couch. And we want all the hairs of your paintbrush nice and pointy. So you're going to take some water, and I recommend doing all the windows first, like everything yellow. It's a very light color and it gets very messy first. So we're going to go in the yellow room, and we're just going to tickle the color awake. We're not going to poke it. You're just going to tickle it. Tickle, tickle, tickle until you wake up that color. So the water is pretend coffee to the paint, and it wakes it up from sleeping. So we're just going to paint all the windows. We're just going to wiggle the paintbrush or drag it like that. And you're going to paint all your little windows. Now, this one's really far away. I can't see the window, so it doesn't get painted. If I were to walk up the hill, you would see that the windows are on. The lights are on in the windows, but it's too far away to see. Rinse my brush out. We swish it at the bottom, and then we drag it on the side. Swish it on the bottom and drag it on the side. Take some clean water, and then you're going to pick your color. Let's see, I think this one's red. So everything we want this orangey red color, we're going to paint that now. Until there's no white spots. So if I were to paint this door, that would be a peekaboo. So peekaboo is anywhere you can see colors like peeking out at you. I'm just going to show that on this scrap piece of paper here. Move this out of the way. So peekaboo in my class is, we have 2 circles on a poster board. This would be a peekaboo. You could see the white paper peeking out through its fingers at you. And then this would be colored in. There'd be no peekaboos, no white spots. It looks like something like that. Okay, so we're going for this, where we want to use the whole piece of paper, not this. Sometimes I make scribble art, but it's not today. Okay, so this is the one we're aiming for today. And then I'm going to go back and fill this door in all the way, because we want to use our supplies responsibly. So if I'm using a piece of paper, I want to paint it in all the way until there are no white spots. Okay, it makes a difference with our artwork looking more finished, a little bit more polished. And you're just going to continue just like this, painting all your details. I recommend using a small paintbrush for small things. It also helps us to slow down and paint slowly, intentionally. I recommend like a size 2 paintbrush, or like a size 4 would work. When I'm painting the sky, my students turn their city upside down. I know, so silly. And if you have a nighttime sky, you could pick purple or black. I'm going to do a dark purple nighttime sky. If it's daytime, you might want to pick blue. If it's sunset, you could do sunset colors. And we're going to work on painting in around the buildings without touching the buildings. This takes practice. So I usually go in next to the building and drag my brush to practice painting without painting on the buildings. So then I would work painting the entire sky until there are no peekaboos. And then I'll go back and forth when these areas dry. I will then paint the face of the buildings. So this is going to take some time. I probably won't finish my painting today. And it's okay if you don't have time to finish your painting today. Sometimes artists don't have time to finish all their work. Sometimes it's unfinished, and that's okay. We can only do what we can do. All right, so I would kind of work back and forth depending on what area is very wet. I'm rinsing my brush at the bottom and dragging it on the side. This hill is going to stay white because it's a winter picture. This is all snow, but I will paint the footprints. Take a little bit of blue, and I'm just going to give them like a little shadow of a color there. I'm going to put a little bit of color too on the snowman, snow person. Maybe a shadow under them. And for the most part, I'm going to leave the rest of the snowman white. Rinse my brush really, really well from the blue color before I switch to a different color. You can use this lesson also to teach warm and cool colors or complementary colors on the buildings, but there's usually enough vocabulary words going on that by the time we have talked about perspective and cityscape and all that good stuff, that we just have fun painting the picture any way we want. If you're doing this in the springtime, you can just paint this hill green instead and skip the footprints from the snowman, for example, if you're doing it a different time of year. but I hoped you liked the lesson connection. If you're doing it in the wintertime, I use the book Snow by Yuri Shulevitz, something like that. I will put the book in the description below. But I hope this has inspired you to try a new artist style and new vocabulary words. Have a great day. Bye.